going to wait until everybody connects to audio. Okay, so I see Andre and Lindsay, you guys look ready. I'll give Manasa a second. Andre and Lindsay, can you guys hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for unmuting your mic as well, that's exciting.
Yeah, I can hear you as
No
well.
problem.
Okay, awesome, thank you, Lindsay. All right, so I'll give the other student maybe like 10 seconds and then we'll get started.
Out of curiosity, are you guys are you guys like the part of the graduate student association?
I'm not, and I don't think any of the other people here that are from SARC are, but I am doing like a graduate program right now, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
That works.
Are you part of it?
That works. I'm not a part of it, but I want to get like more involved, I guess.
Oh, okay.
I know
Gotcha.
they have like events like sort of like this, so I just wondered if you guys were like a part of that.
Okay. All right, so I think we can get started. So thank you for coming, guys, both Andre and Lindsay, and then we'll give the other student a couple seconds. But today we're going to be talking about how to successfully master a career in STEM. And in case you're wondering, like, who is this girl and why is she talking about this? My name is Jane Lynn, and I am the Downtown Campus Graduate Assistant for SARC. And yeah, so I work for the Student Academic Resource Center. I'm currently doing my master's in nanotechnology, and I did my undergraduate degree in biomedical sciences. So I'm pre-med track, so my long-term goal is to go to medical school, and I'm very passionate about all the STEM stuff and the STEM field and all these subjects. And being a part of SARC has definitely exposed me a lot more to that environment. So Jess, if you can go to the next slide. Thank you. All right, so here's a table of contents of what the workshop is going to be about. So we're going to go over an overview of SARC services, and then we're going to have a little bit of an icebreaker, and then we're going to go over study behaviors, followed by SARC and SI courses that we offer, and then we're going to go over the SARC scientific method, and then a little bit about research, and then self-care at the end. So next slide. Thank you. All right, so before I talk about SARC services myself, I just wanted to check in with you guys. Is there anything that you know about SARC services already? Any of our programs that we have? I would just like to hear from you guys what you know already. So either Andre or Lindsay. I know the other student is still trying to connect.
I do not know about SARC.
Okay, well, that's great. That's why you're here. So I'll definitely talk a little bit more about it in a little bit. And then Lindsay, do you know anything about SARC?
Not really. This is my first semester with UCF. I was at Valencia prior. I don't have a lot of knowledge.
Oh, cool. So you transfer some credits like to UCF. And so I know a lot of students that come to UCF and they're already like a sophomore or junior when they come from Valencia.
I with my associates, so.
Okay, got it. All right, awesome. So it's actually good that you guys don't know anything about SARC because I'm going to talk about it in the next slide. So Jess. Thank you. All right. So peer tutoring is really like the typical tutoring that you would expect. You have a tutor that has a couple of sessions throughout the week. They last 2 hours long, and they also offer one-on-one tutoring. And so they offer classes all within STEM. So all of those like general STEM courses are offered by our SARC tutors as well as our SI leaders. So supplemental instruction is another program that we have within SARC. And SI leaders follow a different type of method and methodology to run their sessions. So they have 4 sessions a week, and they're all 50 minutes each. And they're really focused on having group activities in their sessions, games, activities, just to make sure that everything that you're learning in your courses really gets into your head and you can instill it in your long-term memory. And well, the peer tutors, what they do, they are allowed to expose the material to you one more time. So they're more flexible when it comes to relecturing. So if at any point you feel like you went to lecture and maybe it didn't click enough, I think peer tutoring would be a great option for you. And then we also have our wonderful ACE coaches. So if you need some more help about how to succeed academically, so maybe working on time management, or if you know that you're a procrastinator and you would like to work on that as well, then an ACE coach can definitely help you. And it's more of like a one-on-one interaction as well. And these ACE coaches are trained on how to help you succeed when it comes to your academics. So I definitely recommend that service. And then we also have academic success workshops like the one that you're attending right now. So thank you so much for coming. And then online support as well. So all of these services that I just mentioned, they're all really pretty much offered online nowadays, although we do have some in-person components for a lot of our sessions for both SI and tutoring. So with that being said, do you guys have any questions at all about any of our services?
I guess like how do I go make a appointment with the other people, with the ACE people?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good question. I believe it's through My Night Star. I think Kiara, you might know a little bit more about the ACE coaches, if you'd like to jump in.
Hi, I'm the coordinator of the Academic Coaching and Engagement Program. So to make an appointment with one of our coaches, you can go to SARC's website and we have our list of services there. You can click on the ACE page, and then within that, there will be an appointment form, a link that you'll click on and fill out, and we'll match your availability with our coach's availability.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the link is also on the chat if you'd like to reference that.
Okay, perfect.
It's a very
That's
good.
easier.
All right, thank you for asking. Lindsay, do you have any questions before we move on?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so our next thing is a little icebreaker. Since there's only 2 of you right now that are super active, I'll focus it on you guys. So if you can just share your name, your major, and even which class you're in. I know I didn't really put it on the slide, but if you can say if you're a freshman, junior, sophomore, senior, and then on a scale from 1 to 10, how scary is it to be in a STEM career? So I'll just, whoever one of you wants to get started and share, feel free.
Sure. Is my mic muted already? Yeah, might as well. Yeah, so I'm a graduate student. I'm a PhD student in the Material Science and Engineering department. On a scale of 1 to 10, I mean, I've had an internship. It was cool, but I kind of want to start seeing how it actually is to have a STEM career. It's like
That's
different
so
from
nice.
research. I want to see.
So which professor do you work under? Are you doing research right now?
Yeah, I work for Dr. Swami Rajaman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know him. Yeah, you're in CC.
Yes, Oh, this is interesting.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad you're here. So just repeat real quick, from a scale from 1 to 10, how scared are you about being in a career in STEM?
9. Oh, how scared am I? 9 to 10, high scariness? No. I'm like a 2 as I'm ready. I want to see what it's about. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, you've been through, your undergrad and your master's degree, and at this point you're at your PhD. So I think you've definitely come a long way and you're probably more comfortable with all this within the STEM field. So that's nice.
Yeah.
And then Lindsay?
So my name is Lindsay. I am a mathematics major. I'm getting my bachelor's. I got my associates at Valencia, so I guess I'm technically a junior. But I got my associates in general studies, so I feel like I'm more like in terms of credits for my mathematics degree, I'm closer to like sophomore, just because I wasn't super math heavy at that point. But I don't know how scary I consider it. Like it's something I've always wanted. Like I grew up 30 miles from Daytona, so I grew up watching the like space shuttle. So I've always been like, I want to do something with that since I was like 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
That's
more
cool.
of a like getting my life together and doing it is scary, but the idea of being in the field is not.
Got it. Okay, that's nice. All right, thank you guys for sharing. Jess, if you can go to the next slide. Awesome, thank you. So first I wanted to talk about study behaviors. I know, Andre, you're a little bit of a veteran in the field at this point, so I'm still gonna talk about it. So study behaviors are really important. First of all, they'll help you become successful, self-regulated learners. So if you're aware of what study behaviors work for you, then you can go ahead and, manipulate around those study behaviors and see which ones are successful, which ones you need to tweak around, or which ones you just have to remove completely in order to be really good at your STEM courses. And then being aware of what study behaviors are great for you, then that also allows you to keep track of your own career development. And then lastly, understanding the importance of learning versus just memorize is key. And I just want to focus on this last point a little bit more. I remember back when I took, general physics, which to me back then wasn't that important. I can see today how crucial it was for me to actually maybe focus on physics because in my lab, I see it pretty much all the day and I do regret not learning the information rather than just like memorizing a couple of problems here and there to get through the exam and that's it. So that's when our tutors and our SI leaders come into play. If you do attend these sessions, usually they'll make sure through Socratic questioning that the information is really, really sinking in and that you're really understanding everything beyond just memorizing the problems that you might be exposed to in class. So, all right, so that's all I wanted to say in this slide. Jess, if you can go to the next. All right, awesome. So for this part, I had a document that I wanted to share with you guys. So I'm gonna drop it on the chat. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so there you go. You should guys have it in any minute. Okay, did you guys get it? Let me know if you guys see it in the chat box.
Yeah, I see it. I could open it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting it to download now.
So I sent two, actually. I think the first one that I sent is just the presentation itself. And so with that, you'll have access to the different links that I'll share eventually in the presentation. And then the second document is a PDF of a learning skills lab. So I think hopefully you guys got it now. But if you open that PDF, it's just a quick assessment. I think it's about 36 questions just to know whether you're a visual learner or an auditory learner or a combination of both. Maybe someone that learns more through touch and doing activities in practice. So go ahead and fill out that sheet. It has about 36 questions, as I said. It shouldn't take too long. And then at the end, depending on your results, you'll see what type of learner you are. So it might take a little long for our workshop today to like stop and complete the activity entirely, but definitely take some time during your own time to complete this worksheet. And knowing what type of learner you are is going to be crucial, as I said, in order to know which study behaviors are going to work best for you for specific courses. Andre, I saw that you unmuted yourself for like just a second, so I just want to check in with you and see if you have any questions.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I can't like edit the PDF that's just sent. So I don't know if you want us to do it right now because it does not like I can't click any of the buttons. They don't do anything.
Right, that's okay. If you can do it on your
Okay.
own time, or if you can like write it down on a separate sheet of paper, if that works.
Okay.
All right. So I just wanted to make sure you guys had that. And then Jess, if you can go to the next slide. Thank you. All right. So these are the different courses that we offer within SARC. So as I mentioned before, we have two services that are focused on STEM courses. So we have tutoring and then we have supplemental instruction. So for tutoring, as you can see, we offer pretty much all our general chemistry and organic chemistry, biology courses, general microbiology, physics, and then a lot of computer science courses. And then on the SI side, you can see a lot of overlap with the courses that we offer. There are a couple of classes that are distinct to each program. So for example, in supplemental instruction, you see that we offer human anatomy, for example, and then in tutoring, we don't offer that course. And I believe this has to do with like a professor's preference. But there's a plenty of courses that we support and that you guys should take advantage of if you're taking any of these classes. I know, Andre, for you probably don't have to worry about these classes anymore. But then Lindsay, if there are any classes here that maybe you haven't taken or you are taking currently, and that you're planning to take in the future, definitely take a screenshot if you can of this table. If not, I know we also have on our website the schedules for both tutoring and supplemental instruction. So I would highly recommend using these, especially in STEM, just from personal experience. Back when I took organic chemistry and my general chemistries, I was not doing as great. At the beginning of the semester on my tests, I used to score like, I think my first score for general chemistry was like a D, and I did horrible, but then that's what got me into coming to SARC and using all these services. And then as soon as I started coming to supplemental instruction, actually for general chemistry, that's when my grades started to look a lot better. And I became a successful student within STEM. So if you're ever struggling with anything, don't feel like this is going to be discouraging. Just make sure that you seek out for the help that you might need. All right. Thank you. So now I like to call this the SARC scientific method. So at this point, you guys should both be familiar with the scientific method. In case you're not, I do have a little diagram on the left of this slide. And our SI leaders, SARC tutors, and ACE coaches follow something very similar. So they name their model a little bit differently. So for example, the SI leaders use the supplemental instruction model, and then the SARC tutors use a SARC tutoring engagement model. But in reality, the underlying idea behind these models is very similar to the scientific method. So if you look at the diagram, whenever you come to a session, you're going to be prepared with a question. So you're going to ask your question in that session, and then your tutor or SI leader is going to do kind of like a background check or like a background research on how experienced you are in a specific concept. So let's say you're in organic chemistry session and you come in asking about a specific synthesis problem. Your tutor or SI leader is going to see like, okay, do they really understand the basics of this concept? Do we have to like step back a little bit and make sure that they understand this other concept before jumping into this? So they do like kind of like a construction of a hypothesis depending on your knowledge, and then they start testing you. So both tutors and SI leaders are going to use a lot of Socratic questioning whenever you go to our sessions, and they're going to make sure that through these open-ended questions, they can gauge where you are, and that's when they're really running their experiments on you to see how you're doing as a student. Then they do some work and ask you to do some practice problems, or if you have some practice problems of your own that you'd like to share during the session, that's when you start working on these. And then the tutor could see whether you're doing well or you're not. So they do like a procedure check. And if you're not, then that's when they would start to troubleshoot, like, okay, maybe at this specific point of the problem, this is where the student is struggling. So that's when they back up a little bit, and they make sure to give you like maybe easier type of questions that would eventually lead to the final concept. And if you are doing well, then that's when the SI leader or the tutor can draw some conclusions, analyze everything that you went through. They might ask you to summarize the problem that you just worked on. And so that's when they'll see whether the results align with their hypothesis at the beginning that they made when they were trying to see where you were at. And if it doesn't align with the hypothesis, maybe they might want to collect some more data from you and see if maybe there's some other things that they do understand, that you do understand and that you do master in the subject that maybe could lead to understanding the final concept. And then I see that somebody else joined in. So hi, Diana, thank you for coming in. And then at the end of this, that's when you would communicate your results to the SI leader or the tutor. So you would just show them how well you have mastered the concept. And this is pretty much how every single session in tutoring and supplemental instruction runs. So you come prepared with your questions, they work on it together with you. And then at the end, hopefully you'll walk out of the session knowing a lot more than you did before. So I do really recommend going to SARC and using all of our different resources. ACE coaches follow something very similar. Well, they'll try to gauge what you do, what your current study behaviors are, if there's anything that they might need to tweak around or help you with. And that's when they start to analyze where you are, analyze how to maybe make you a better student overall in the academic world. And so all of our services go around this underlying idea. So that's why I wanted to like maybe show you guys and make sure that you guys understood from this diagram. So next slide, Jess. Thank you. All right, so now I just wanted to throw this question at you all. So what is your research experience so far? So I'll ask Lindsay first, just to switch the order a little bit. So far, what have you done in the research field?
So far, I have not done any research. I had gone to the workshop for research for this semester, but with my schedule, it just didn't really work out for me to do anything, but I am looking to try to do research during the fall.
Mm-hmm. That's good. All right. And then thank you for sharing. And then Andre?
Yeah, so I started research as an undergrad, and then I had like an RU experience as well,
Mm-hmm.
and ended up writing some papers in undergrad, and then came to UCF, struggled a little bit, and then found my way into a good lab. So.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah, research definitely does take a lot of perseverance and switching around, you know, which lab you work on and which ones you need to like switch to, and you'll finally find like your niche. So I understand. So it's great that we have that balance of somebody that's really experienced with research, and you've come a long way, Andre. And then Lindsay, I love that you're here and maybe you haven't been exposed enough to research, but you have both Andre and I to talk about what research is, what it's going to teach you, and why you should get involved early. So that's actually what my next slide is about. So next slide, Jess. Thank you. All right. So why should you start research early? I know maybe, Lindsay, you've heard from like a million people so far, like, hey, you should start research, and they just like throw it at you, but they don't really like explain why it's important or what it's going to teach you. So that's what I'm here for today. So our research is going to help you become more disciplined and perseverant. And you can ask Andre, you can ask me. Usually in the lab, 98% of the time, you're probably going to fail. And I know this sounds really discouraging and scary, but it's the truth. It's only that 2% that really keeps us pushing forward and trying to get our experiments to work. But when they work, it's a very satisfying feeling, and it's amazing to see results. So getting into research early is definitely going to teach you those two things. Back when I was an undergrad, I thought I was already disciplined and perseverant, but it was only until I started research that I was like, okay, never mind. I've learned a lot more now. And I think if it wasn't because of research, I wouldn't be as patient as I am today. So that's really important about it. And then it also allows you to apply knowledge from your classes in real life scenarios. So that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of our workshop about physics. As a pre-med student, I never really paid attention to, the math world and physics as much as I should have. I'm currently at a material science lab, so it's very engineering heavy, and I do not have a background in engineering, and it definitely has been a struggle to keep up with all the other engineers in the group. But I think it's really nice to be able to apply that foundation sciences that I used during my undergrad to my current research lab. So it's a good way to like mix the two in a very balanced combination and be able to be successful both in your STEM courses while at the same time getting some results from your own experiments. It also allows you to develop better team working and presentation skills. So once you do research, you're probably going to be asked to go to conferences, to work in a team, to do different research projects with different professors and different students. So you get a good exposure to different academic levels. So for example, in my case, I'm a master's student currently, but it's amazing to get the chance to work with PhD students that are about to graduate, with my professor, being able to do some networking with different professors. So that's something that you would only really get from research, as well as from SARC. So if it wasn't because of SARC, I probably wouldn't have connected with as many professors as I have today. And I know for both you and Andre, Lindsay and Andre, it's going to be really important to have these connections for future employment, maybe for fellowships or scholarships later on. You're always going to need letters of recommendation. So if you can start working in a lab now and you get really close to your professor and make those connections, then that's really going to help you to be a good applicant and stand out. Now, going to the next point, it's going to also allow you to have a really good resume for graduate school, internships, fellowships, medical school, etc., you name it. And so that's what I was mentioning before. Starting with research, you get this exposure that not any other field is going to offer to you. And then you also get publication opportunities. And this really will make you stand out in comparison to other students that might be applying to your same position at a future employment or future research field. So if you do get some publications under your belt and you have some, even if it's as a second author, you don't necessarily have to be the first author of your publications, but if you're exposed to it and your name is somewhere, it's definitely going to make you look really good in applications. And then you will also be able to work on an application that you're passionate about. So I know, Andre, you're already in a lab that you found your niche at, and I just wanted to ask you, how does it feel to finally find a place where you feel like you're applying the stuff that you like to do and that you're passionate about?
Yeah, I want to say like it feels good. And I guess like can I add some stuff? Like I think like in undergrad, it's a lot easier to find like what you like because everything's new, and so you are just excited about any project. And then like when you get into grad school, it's like you've worked on this or that, and you see some other things, and then it's harder to pick what you want to just focus on for so long. And so I think that's what took me so long, but I'm extremely happy to finally like pick a good lab.
Yeah, nice.
Project.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And I agree. I'm glad you brought that up. For me, once I started with research, I was like, oh my gosh, everything is exciting. I wanted to do everything like super quick. And then I started realizing that it was more of like a marathon rather than just getting stuff done like day by day. You really have to make sure that you're working long term and that you're working a little bit every day instead of just getting everything done and being like super excited. So it's definitely key to find what you like and don't be afraid to try new things. In my case, as I said, I'm still pre-med, but working at a material science lab is definitely not something that I ever thought about, but it has definitely taught me so many different things. So going back to you, Lindsay, have you ever thought about working like in something that doesn't have to do with mathematics, or has that always been your like focus?
It hasn't really. I'm kind of generally into like the math, physics, engineering, just kind of really, I'm in love with space. So anything that has any kind of aspect to that, which is like 18 different fields,
Mm-hmm.
is something that I am interested in.
That's really cool. Have you ever seen anything about Celino Biotech?
I have not.
Yeah, so this Celino is like a company that was founded by this student from Harvard University, and she started very recently and she's getting a lot of funding, but she's also in love with space. So I would definitely recommend looking into her company. She loves space and she's a physics PhD from Harvard. And she's always loved math and physics and engineering, but her whole concept behind the company is about biology and doing stem cell research. And she never thought she would ever do that, but she found the connection between space and that. And she somehow managed to like launch the company just based on her like love for space. So I think it would be really nice for you to like look into that.
Yeah, she came here last year.
Really?
Yeah, in the physics department.
Oh, that's
Okay.
cool.
Yeah. So it's like meter and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a nice company. I know they're doing really well, and it seems like it could be, the future of medicine, hopefully. But yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys. Next slide, Jess. Thank you. All right. So I know that we've shared about how important research is and how it can like make you feel like you finally belong in like your own little niche. So where do I find all these opportunities, right? So first of all, you can find a professor that works on something that you're really passionate about. And they will help you connect with other campus opportunities. And once you find that professor, usually they're going to be the ones that are going to be writing really, really strong letters of recommendation for you for future applications for graduate school or for fellowships and scholarships. Also attend conferences and workshops as you are right now. Conferences are really, really important to do the networking that you need as a researcher and as a scientist. So make sure that you take advantage of all the different conferences that are being offered around campus. And don't ignore your emails. The reason why I actually got into the lab I am today is because I got an email from a different professor that's not even my PI at the moment, but he was referencing Dr. Banerjee for me to join his lab. So if you get an email, try to always look into what they say. Don't just delete them. I used to do this myself and I still do a little bit nowadays, but just make sure that you read through them because usually there's people in like the administrative side of things that might be forwarding these from your professors directly. So make sure that you read them through. Take independent research credits. So if you haven't already as an undergrad, I would really recommend taking these credits. I know it might not give you enough of like a lab exposure, but at least you're going to be working on like something that you're passionate about, that you can write about. And it will probably also get you into having the opportunity to speak at a conference yourself or have your own workshop or a lot of things. So it looks good on your transcript as well if you have independent research credits whenever you apply to future graduate school. So make sure you do that. And then I also have the link to the Office of Undergraduate Research here. So in case you haven't looked into that, I would definitely recommend looking into that website. They have a lot of different workshops as well, just as we do, and a lot of resources that they offer for undergraduate research. So both Lindsay and I see that there's a new attendee. So Maloney, I don't know if I said that right or not, but if you can unmute yourself and maybe introduce yourself really quickly, that would be great.
Hi, hello. Yeah, you pronounced it correctly. And my name is Maloney. I am an undergrad right now doing aerospace engineering and physics. transfer from Valencia. This is my first semester in UCF, and I'm an international student as well. So after transfer, this is my first. I was a UCF student back in 2016. So yeah, hello everyone. I hope you're all doing good.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. We're glad to have you here. And it's great that you're doing aerospace. That's definitely very, very admirable. So congrats. Very proud of you. So next slide, Jess, please. Maloney, were you going to say something? I saw you deactivate your mic and then mute it again. So just making sure.
Yeah, just the thank you.
No. All right. Yeah, for sure. Now that we talked about all of like the different things in research and how important it is, and I also talked a little bit, just to catch you up, Maloney, we talked about the different services that we have here at SARC. So tutoring and SI have a lot of classes within the STEM field. So if there's any class that you might be struggling with, you could definitely reference our website, in which we have schedules of all the different classes that we offer. So if you ever need help with particular concept or subject, then definitely use advantage of the free resources on campus. And then I also was telling this to Andre and Lindsay, ACE coaching is also really helpful for academic help, just in general, not really course specific, but if you need some help with maybe time management or navigating through your syllabus for a specific class, or maybe you know that you're a procrastinator, you need some extra help with that, then you can also have an appointment with an ACE coach. Now, switching gears a little bit, what about my own sanity, right? So I wanted to ask the three of you, what are some techniques that you guys use in order to take care of yourself and like ground yourself from all the different stresses that maybe the STEM field might incorporate? So what are some things that you do whenever you have some time to take care of yourself?
I really wish I knew. I know the last thing I tried to do was like I got like a bicycle and like I run on bike around. It's pretty relaxing.
Yeah, I love biking too. I mean, I don't have a bike myself, but every time I can like rent one around and just like, you know, go around a lake or something, it's really nice. I usually rollerblade, so that's like my way of self-caring.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but that's good. Yeah, exercise is definitely important, especially when, you know, in STEM, we're always sitting in a classroom and studying and in the lab. So if you can get some sunlight on your skin and, you know, get some workouts in, then that's really good. Thank you for sharing, Andre. And then Lindsay and Maloney, what do you guys do?
When I actually have like enough time, I like to go to the beach, but that's like you have to have at least like 6 hours for like the drive there to spend time there to make it like worth the drive. So without that, just catching up on like TV shows that I don't need to watch. I've been in a Top Chef binge, which makes me hungry and also jealous that I can't cook like that. So I don't know how like self-care that is because I can't make that food.
No, I think it's beautiful. Like I watch like Gordon Ramsay all the time and I think it's great. Like it's just a way of like, you know, getting myself out of like the stuff in the lab and everything going on at work. So I think that's fine. I mean, even if you get jealous of the good recipes and stuff, I don't know how to cook either, but I love watching just like how aesthetically pleasing it is to put a dish together. So I agree. And then Maloney, what do you do for self-care?
I like cooking a lot. So whenever I'm in the kitchen, that makes me happy. If I'm stressed out with classes, I straight go to kitchen and cook something. And I'm Indian, so I specifically cook Indian meals, and that just brings me happiness. And apart from that, I do meditation. That's a plus that helps me with my self-care. And I guess that's it. Talking to family, and that's the last thing I guess in my list for self-care.
Mhm.
That's
Those are
that's
all
it.
wonderful. Yeah. So when you cook, like, what's your specialty? I know you said
I
Indian food, but like, is there like one dish that you really enjoy cooking and or that you think is exceptional?
Oh my God, there are many dishes like that. I love cooking Indian meals, and one of my favorite is pani puri in India. That's like a snack, but I don't usually cook once. I cook once a month because it's too spicy and it's a snack, so it's not very healthy. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So that's the meal. I mean, that's the thing that I really enjoy.
That's nice. I'm definitely gonna have to try it. I have a really close Indian friend and he's in my lab and he loves cooking as well. And he shares with me all these different dishes and like all the stuff that he makes. And I'm like, oh God, I wish I could cook like that. Everything looks delicious. And he's let me like try his you know, like what he brings for lunch in the lab. And he's like, Jalen,
Mhm.
do you want to try it? And I love trying like new food and Indian food specifically. So that's nice. All right, so I definitely wanted to share this slide with you guys because I know it can get pretty hectic at times to, you know, do your research, do well in classes, be aware of all these different sessions that are offered on campus, going to conferences, presenting. There's just so much going on in the life of an undergrad and a graduate student that it's always important to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and that if you ever need a break, or if you ever need like extra resources or somebody else to help you when it comes to your self-care, don't be afraid to look for help. And just to share like a personal experience, I remember back when I was an undergrad, I think it was my sophomore year, somebody told me that since I was going to apply to medical school eventually, that I shouldn't really look for like any psychological help or anything because they could see that in my transcripts. So I thought, I mean, back then I believed it, and I was going through a harsh time in my life, and I actually didn't look for help because I thought maybe medical schools wouldn't like seeing that I was like a weak type of person because I look for help. But I'm here today to tell you guys that if you ever need any help, definitely seek for it. Don't be ashamed of looking for any different resources to help with your mental health. It's really important, and don't let anybody tell you that you don't need it or that you shouldn't be looking for help, when in reality there's not a problem with it. So thank you for sharing all of your own personal self-care techniques. I think they're all wonderful. And Jess, thank you. If you could go to the next slide. Awesome. Okay, so I collected some tips from different doctors and PhD students that are in my lab currently, and people that are taking the same masters that I am. And so I'm just going to read through a couple of these different tips and kind of share them with you guys, which I think they're really good. So I'll start at the top left. This is from Dr. Swadesh Mukul Santra. He's a faculty member at the nanotechnology department, and as well as for agricultural studies on campus. So he said, A, get involved with STEM research, any opportunity, including research-based research. So as I was saying before, even if you just get independent research credits, I think that's a really good start to start being exposed about what research is about, even if you're not running your own experiments and you're just doing a paper and presenting it. I think that's already a really good start to get into research. And then B, he says that step up with STEM networking, join professional societies in your discipline. So it's really cool to see that you guys are here in this workshop and you got some ideas from different students that are also within the same field. So hopefully from this workshop, you can see how important it is to just be active in different presentations and conferences that you go to, so that you really get that exposure and those different ideas from different students and professionals really in the field. And then I have another quote from Corbin Fight. He's actually one of my lab mates in the lab, and he's in material science and engineering. He's a PhD candidate currently. And he says that 3 Ps of grad school are patience, persistence, and perseverance. So that's something that we also talked about in the beginning of the workshop. If you haven't had any research experience so far, it can be a very humbling experience once you get into lab to see how persistent you have to be, because usually most of the time your experiments might fail. So it can be quite hard to remain persistent and try to make that your experiments come out successful. And then this next one is actually from my brother. He's a PhD. He did his UCF undergrad, master's, and PhD at UCF. He's in aerospace. So I think Maloney, you were the one that shared that you were in the aerospace field. So he said, never be afraid to try something different. You never know what you may find. And I absolutely agree with this quote. I never thought I would ever end up in a lab about material science and engineering, especially with a background only in biomedical sciences. So if there's something that maybe you think you might enjoy, or that you might learn something new from, don't be afraid to join. Don't be afraid to try different things. I know Andre can definitely relate to this as well, because I know Andre has been through a really long journey. And Andre, can you share a little bit about how that like made a change for you, like experiencing new things? And were you afraid at the beginning of like trying new things, or were you always just in the lookout for new experiences?
Like my dad's an engineer, and so like he always made me just like he threw me out there whenever he's like working on a project in the backyard. So I wasn't really ever scared to like touch a new machine. I know that one thing when I got into grad school though, I was like terrified of like the classes, even though they hadn't even started yet. I just was like, oh, this is gonna be so much harder. But it wasn't that bad. What else did you ask me to say?
No, I think you covered it pretty much. I was just asking how, like, did it feel for you to try new things? So it seems like I mean, it could be a little bit like scary at first, but as soon as you jump in and you try it, then everything starts to like run smoothly. And I agree with that 100%. So going on to our next one is doing a little bit of work every day is better than doing nothing. So this is from a medical student. And I also agree with this quote a lot because sometimes when we just don't do anything at all on a specific day, maybe the next day, we're like, oh man, I should have focused on doing even this small little task yesterday, so I didn't have so much today. So just make sure that you're doing a little bit and don't, get mad at yourself if you're not doing as much as you thought you would. As long as you put in some effort and you got a little bit done, then I think that's already a good step. And then the next one is from a nanotechnology master's student. He's saying that your professors are there to help you. Don't be afraid to reach out to them and email them. And this is super true, especially nowadays that everything's online. Professors are usually more open towards having Zoom sessions with you. So if you just email them, usually they'll be okay with having a Zoom office hour type of thing with you and maybe guide you through the right directions if you have any questions about class that you're taking with them or research as we're talking about today, or really anything. Even if you wanted to ask them about their experience so far and why they got to where they are today, a lot of them are very comfortable with just speaking about that. So don't be afraid of your professors. They're a resource there for you. And then I have one from Pavlo. He's a UCF Nanotech Club president. And he said that he used to add every tutoring and SI session on his phone calendar. And that way he's always aware of when sessions are happening. And if you have a free gap, you can fit tutoring into that space. And this is how he got straight A's in organic chemistry. So I never tried this myself, but I think it's a beautiful tip to just have everything on your own calendar. That way, you know exactly when we are offering all these different services and take advantage of everything that campus offers. Even I think I mentioned this before, but if you ever needed like psychological services, for example, if you're struggling with your mental health, think about how much this would be if you weren't a UCF student. Like if you just had like a therapy session without being a part of UCF, it would be really, really expensive. So if you ever need these resources, even tutoring, if you wanted to have tutoring outside of campus, it's probably going to be a couple dollars just for like a month of tutoring. So just make sure that you're using all these resources. They're free for you right now. So be aware of that they exist. And if you want to use them, feel free. And then the last quote is from a civil engineer. Her name is Natalie, and she said that networking is very important to always be growing your own network, join and attend meetings from societies in your own field, volunteer to help in such events, and it'll put you in direct contact with the attendees. You'll never know when you'll come across those people again. Maybe they're going to be your employees, clients, or colleagues later on. So networking is really important. And there's 2 quotes here that talk about that. So I definitely wanted to highlight the importance of going to these different workshops and conferences to make sure that you talk with different students. You maybe exchange numbers, emails. That way if there's something that maybe somebody in this workshop is working on that you would be really interested in, then don't be afraid to reach out to people. And that way you'll be more exposed to different things. And then next slide, Jess. Thank you. So in summary, now you know that SARC has got your back, especially with STEM courses. If you're ever struggling with anything, we have our wonderful tutors and SI leaders to help you with this content. In addition to that, you have our ACE coaches in case you're ever struggling with anything academic wise, maybe not focus on a specific course, but more about like techniques and study skills that could help you succeed. And then we talked about how important it was to identify your current study behaviors and how this will be essential to be a better student within the STEM field. And then starting research early is going to put you in a really good spot compared to other students. So just make sure that you're starting to, connect with professors, connect with different students, see how you can get involved in research, even if it's through just independent research, even if it's just something that maybe you're not interested in, but you're offered the opportunity to be part of the lab, you might find a passion there that maybe you weren't aware of before. And then remember to always, always, always put your mental and physical health first. And it is possible, believe me, I know we're all very busy people and we have so many things going on as undergrads and graduate students, but it is possible to just relax sometimes and take a break and a mental break for our own sanity. So just make sure that you're doing that for yourself. And then that last link at the bottom is Knights Connect. So it's just different organizations that you guys can maybe become a part of. I know there's not many events going on nowadays in person, but there's still definitely organizations that continue to run events online. So if you wanted to look more into that, that's there. And I know I shared the PowerPoint with you guys initially at the beginning of the presentation. So if you wanted to access those links, it's in the chat. And next slide. All right, so here are some additional resources. So we talked about the importance of reaching out to your professors. Don't be afraid to shoot an email at them. Your academic advisors, if you're struggling maybe with finances, there's always the Office of Student Financial Assistance, Career Services, CAPS, or the Counseling Center. There's one here that I didn't mention, but it's the Student Accessibility Service Center. If you ever need anything when it comes to maybe taking an exam with certain accommodations, feel free to reach out to them as well. And then you have us, SARC. I already talked about all the wonderful resources that we offer. UCF Cares, and then the different UCF websites. And most importantly, this last one is your friends, your roommates, maybe a study buddy or your family. So just make sure that you reach out to all these wonderful resources. If you ever need anything, don't be afraid to reach out for help. And my next slide is just the different resources that we have on for SARC as well, but I already pretty much drilled this in your minds for the whole workshop. So just last slide, just to make sure that you guys see it. And then my next slide is a shout out to our women in STEM. So I know that there's like 3 of you guys here today, and well, 4 including myself. So I'm very proud of you. I just wanted to say that, you know, this is a field that's still predominantly male, but women in STEM continues to grow. And so hopefully we can keep this going. And yeah, I mean, it's not just me being proud of you. I'm sure your families are proud of you for being in the STEM field, your friends, and all your different loved ones. So just keep it up. And yeah, I'm sure we're here to make a difference. And so now that you know how to become a successful STEM student, charge on. And my last slide is just thanking you guys for coming here today. Thank you for your participation. A lot of you unmuted your mics and like spoke throughout the workshop. So I really appreciate all that participation. And I believe, yeah, so just already shared a link on the chat. So if you can open that Qualtrics form, I would truly appreciate it with your feedback. Any tips that you might have is definitely going to help us improve our workshops. And thank you for coming, guys. Just make sure that you complete that form for me, please. And then do you guys have any questions at all before we conclude the workshop today?
I just want to thank you so much for your presentation. It was really good.
Oh, thank you, Lindsay. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask them if there's like any opportunities to like to speak about like my experiences to people.
As in like
Like you ever need like a like you know Corbin, like you ask him for like
okay.
a quote or something like that.
Well, I wish, like, I'm sure that if I had like your contact, I probably would have asked you to add you on the tips from the pros. But if you wanted to share something with everybody right now, I think that would be great. If you have like a tip for everybody in the room right now, I think they would definitely appreciate it because I know you've come a long way. So I know I'd
Oh,
like
for
put you on the spot, but
Yeah, I'm like like I said that earlier. Yeah, I mean, I would just definitely say like what Corbin said. Like, it definitely takes a lot of perseverance and practice. Like, I know a lot of people have dropped out. So like the Americans students drop out the most.
Mhm.
So it's like 50% drop out before qualifiers, and then 50% drop out after qualifiers as an American student. It's a little challenging since we have so much more opportunities over here. But I don't know, that's one thing. So it just takes a lot of perseverance to make it in research and academia.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing. I actually didn't think about that, and I didn't know that stat. So thank you for sharing, Andre. But yeah, if you ever wanted to, I don't know, get more involved with I guess SARC. I'm not sure, Kiara, if you would know this, because I know Andre's a graduate student. So he could apply for like a graduate assistant like position, if anything, and get more involved with the workshops themselves. So if you have any feedback on that.
Yeah, Andre, if you're just like looking for employment, we post our positions usually around this time, like mid-semester. So tutoring does not have a lot of graduate students who are actually tutors, and same with supplemental instruction. I have staff who are both undergraduates and graduate students. And then we do post for our positions like the graduate assistants, which come with a stipend and tuition waiver. But those are not posted as often because we'll try to, you know, if somebody's in school for 2 years with their master's program, then we'll keep them on for 2 years and rehire. So just continue to check our page. So I'm thinking that you clicked on that link that Jessica or Jalen had posted, because I saw your appointment request come through. So if you just explore,
Yes.
yeah, we have an employment page on there as well. So I would recommend you check that often.
Yeah, I'm a GRA right now,
Oh.
or GTA WGRA in the fall or in the summer. But I was just talking about like being on a panel, like where undergraduates ask you questions and stuff like that. But if I can do both, I mean, and
Is
get
that
paid for
like specific STEM?
Is it specific to STEM? Yeah, it's like kind of STEM. Like you go to a conference sometimes, and then they have like undergraduates ask like graduate students like some advice, stuff like that. That's what I was like referring to.
I gotcha. SARC does not have anything like that. We're really like holistic academic support. We don't really hone in on specific areas. Like this is one of the first times I feel like we've really honed in on a specific academic area like STEM. So this is the first time we've done this workshop in our series. So we do not have anything like that, but Jessica just typed something in the chat there about the Graduate Student Center. So they might have something that you'd be interested in. Mentoring.
Okay, yeah.
That's good too.
Yeah, I know there's like some mentoring. I would have to look more into this and maybe reach back to you. I know we both work in the same building, so if anything, I mean, I'll see you around in lab. But yeah, I have a friend that works for this mentoring program on campus, and you're like paired up with an undergraduate student, and you can pretty much show them like what you do in lab. You can teach them about your own research and all these different things. If that's something that you're interested in, I could definitely like look into that for you and share with you whenever I see you again. So my email's also there. If anything, you could also just go ahead and send me an email.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, I think I ran into you at the elevator one time.
Yeah. Any other questions? I just put my email on the chat box in case you guys want more information or anything. You feel free to send me an email. I'm available. And yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for coming. Hopefully you guys all fill out the Qualtrics form. I appreciate your attendance, and yeah, feel free to come to any other workshops that we might be hosting later on in the semester.